like gold, wrapped a pretty little frame around a telephone pole. Ride her up a mountain like old Arlo. Figure I'll buy me a motorcycle. Well, I figure I'll walk to the liquor store. Thunderbird, 2 bottles, maybe 3, maybe 4. Follow my feet down the music road. Pour it on the pavement like you would a tombstone. Like you would a tombstone. Like you would a tombstone. Pour it on the pavement like you would a tombstone. Well, I figure I'm weary of feeling this way. Popping another pill, hopping another drink. Tell my brothers and my sisters that it's keeping me sane. Figure I'm weary of feeling this way.
All right, come in and grab a seat. Happy days are here again. We have some door prizes we want to give. And so come in so that you can make sure we get you identified with our door prizes. All right, did you enjoy the break? If you did, let me hear from you. How about a hand for all our sponsors? Very good. I've got a couple of housekeeping things we need to take care of. Remember, again, to turn your phones off. I don't know about you guys, but my phone doesn't work very good in here. And if you're needing to get your email or check some messages or something, you can get on Wi-Fi, and it's capital B, beef. 2025 exclamation point is the password. That's capital B for beef 2025 exclamation point. That is the password to get on the Wi-Fi. Get your programs out. I want to point out a couple of other things for you. One, if you will go to page 43. Now, I know some of the pages don't have numbers. It's the one with equity exchange on it, okay? That's the page I want you to look at. The one right there on the screen with equity exchange, I want you to look at that because this is on the right-hand side. These are your okay. On that page, all of you that are on the Ag Committee for Hemphill County, if y'all would stand up, please, because I know you guys have worked so hard. Yeah, George, stand up, and there we go. Hey, these guys have worked really hard year after year to make this conference work. A lot of them are behind the scenes. Give these guys your feedback, and let's give them a big thanks right now. Most of them are putting boards down under the food tent so that you have a pathway to walk on and not get your shoes dirty and your boots dirty this morning. So with that, I also want you to turn to the next page, right across from GKB, all right? And down here at the bottom, these are the mega door prizes that are going to be the last thing tomorrow. Those are going to be the mega door prizes, like several $1,000s that you are, $10,000 total in prizes. That's the last thing tomorrow. Make note, you must be present to win, okay? You must be present to win. So if you want to win one of these gift packages worth $10,000 total between the three, that'll be the last thing tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Rathman, and he's going to tell us who our door prize winners are right now, and then we've got our speaker coming up in just a moment.
All right, so on the door prizes this year, they made a little bit of an upgrade, and instead of y'all having raffle tickets, some of y'all were already inquiring, why don't I have a raffle ticket? I want to make sure I got my name in there so I get all my prizes. But this year they've already done the raffle ahead of time based on pre-registrations to try to make things more efficient. So if you are on the board right now, you are a winner, and you need to contact or go find the vendor, because all these are vendors that have been kind enough to donate a door prize for our drawings. And so I don't know if you want me to read them, Andy. Okay. So to start off with, the Swaggin' Wagon is giving away a $50 gift card to Mr. Mason Allen. We should have made that exclusive to the girls only. Mason, he's a college student, he's single, doesn't even have a girlfriend, so I don't know who he's going to spend it on. So if any of the ladies are, probably his mother. There you go, Andy. I was going to go a different direction, but yes, his mother. Becky will be really happy. Central Life Sciences, the winner was McKenna Carr. And McKenna, you've won an inhibitor insecticidal pour-on with an applicator gun. The next winner was Adam Coker, and you've been won a Yeti 20-ounce tumbler cup from Specialized Crop Insurance and PRF Experts. Bohinger Ingelheim is the winner is Lisa Crabtree with some goodies there, some caps and gloves and other items. And then I believe our winner of the jerky from Panhandle Meat Processing is Kirsten Dewey. So congratulations to you. Other winners that we have from Calicrate Banders. They're giving away a book on the ranchers of the West, and that winner is Dr. Monty Dozier. Next, we've got Tucker Ag Products. Tucker Ag is giving away a Safeguard dewormer coffee cup, coffee, and a cap. So a whole bag of goodies there, and that goes to Zoe Gensler. And then Silencer Shoots. We've got Silencer Shoot giving away 2 caps to Grayson back there. He's smiling. I can see him back there. Proud to be the winner of that one. The final door prize at this time is from Montfort Cattle Services. And this is probably my personal favorite when we've been coming here. And I thought to myself, man, that would be a great win right there. They are giving away a $600 value to participate in his AI course. And so that goes to Mr. Larry Hennard. So let's give a big round of applause to not only our winners, but our vendors who have given those prizes away. Thank y'all so much. And again, if y'all have won, y'all just go seek them out at their booth, and they'll hook you up.
All right. Again, big thanks to our sponsors, and I want to introduce Richard Sims of Wellington State Bank to make a few words on behalf. And, you know, as we saw, the market report looks great, but it's got some volatility. And the weather, we might need a loan. So we're going to hear from Richard, Wellington State Bank.
Good morning, everyone. Andy and I talked a minute ago, but we run into each other off and on. Wellington State Bank was one of the original people involved in this, and all I can say is totally amazing to see from where it's been at the start to where it is today, the number of people that will walk through the door today and tomorrow to listen to the speakers, to learn things, because this is a business. It's not a way of life anymore. Our folks grew up doing that, and it was a way of life. If you don't treat it as a business, you won't be around very much anymore. So the fact that these people are here spending their time to educate y'all, and y'all are here to learn, says a lot. Our bank started in 1906, and in 1990, a group at Wellington acquired the bank back and got it locally owned. We were $30 million. Today, we're $595 million. We were $2 million in capital. We're $60 million in capital today. 85% of that has come from farming and ranching, lending, helping customers that are in small rural communities. We're in 14 locations across Texas. 8 of them are up here in the Panhandle, and primary agricultural communities of 2,000 or less. In those communities today, most of our competitors are out-of-state owned multi-million-dollar banks. And so I'll leave that at that. We appreciate the fact that we're here, that we're a sponsor, that we get to support this cause, and get to help y'all. Our motto is Partners in Progress, and we'd be honored if you give us a chance to help you and your ranch progress. Thank y'all.
Richard, thank you very much. Their booth is right back here at the back on the left-hand side. Be sure and stop by and thank them for their sponsorship. Also want to thank Texas Ag Insurance and PTCI Fiber Optics for helping sponsor our next speaker, which is a great friend of mine, but more importantly, he's a great friend to the beef and cattle industry. It is an honor to introduce to you the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. It is the largest trade organization for cattle in the U.S. NCBA is the trusted source for information, for education, and for the standing and lobbying for the beef industry. I'm a proud member of NCBA, Colin, and I'm going to encourage everyone in here to be a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, because we get so busy doing things on the ranch that it's hard for us to do a good enough job, as few as we are relative to the whole population, to represent our needs relative to policy in our State House and in Washington, D.C. And it is with people like Colin and his team that do an awesome job in doing that, in representing us. He's a native of Big Spring, Texas. He's a Texas A&M Aggie. You can read more about him in your program. He spent time lobbying in Washington, D.C., but to me, what I appreciate most about Colin is how personable he is, and that he grew up on a ranch. His mom and dad still own a ranch. He has a brother and sister that are involved in cattle ranching. CEO of National Cattlemen's Beef Association, please help me welcome Colin Woodall.
And it wouldn't cost me a dime. You'll know it's me when I come through.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I have heard the lore of the Hemphill County Beef Conference, and I felt really excited that I finally got an invitation to come join you. So thanks for having me. This is a great turnout, a great day, and much like what Matt said, when I woke up this morning and saw raindrops on the car, I thought, whoo, everybody's going to be in a really good mood, and that always makes things so much better, especially when you're talking about politics. And we're going to spend a lot of time, mostly all the time this morning, talking about politics, where things stand, what we're up against, what the challenges are, and more importantly, what the opportunities are. I appreciate Donald's introduction, and Donald, thank you for being a proud NCBA member. We have members in all 50 states, and we are producer focused. We're not packer focused. And I know some of you have probably heard about that. We're producer focused. Grassroots is what gives NCBA our strength in Washington, D.C., and we have an office on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's a block and a half from the White House, just down the street from Capitol Hill, and we're right across the street from EPA's headquarters, so it's really easy just to chunk a rock across Pennsylvania Avenue and get their attention. But we're there every single day, making sure that the producer, member-directed policy of this association is always being acted upon. And I was really kind of chuckled a little bit, I guess, when Andy sent me the title of my presentation, The Future of Beef Cattle Production in the USA on the Heels of the Green New Deal, because this guy does not care about the Green New Deal. It's a whole new world. Like him or hate him, and I know it runs the spectrum, we have an advocate in Washington, D.C. And what's really fun to watch is the media in particular run around with their hair on fire. Oh my goodness, look what he's doing, look what he's doing. It's like they're surprised. If you're surprised, you weren't paying attention, because everything that he has done, he told us he was going to do. So we are not surprised. What we're trying to do is make sure we take the opportunity to capitalize on having a friend in the White House, somebody who understands which end of the animal does what, and has probably used the term rancher more in his first 100 days than we have seen in the past 100 years. That's been really nice to have somebody that we can work with. Now, as I said, not everybody agrees with him, but our approach has been pretty simple. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And we want to make sure that we're at the table with the president and his team. And he has put together a tremendous team, one who has stepped up and is already doing a lot of very positive stuff for us. And we have to start with a quick review of how we got here. It's been a while since November, but I think it's important that we still take some time and look at results. Now, these are the results of the 2020 election. Now, I start there because I want to go real quick to what 2024 looked like. Let's look at that again. 2020. Pay particular attention to the Rio Grande Valley in California. Look what happens. Significant shift to the red. Now, that's on a county-by-county basis. Let's get a little bit more granular to kind of see what kind of wave really did crash on the shore on November 5th. This is a map that actually shows the shift in these counties. So once again, look at that dark red. The dark red is where more people voted Republican. California, the Rio Grande Valley, New Mexico, northeastern Arizona, places that for years now have been pretty fair strongholds for Democrats. So I think that shows where the overall mindset of the electorate was and why the president got elected. Let's dig down even further. We're going to go specifically to California, because this is the one that the political pundits are all still talking a lot about. When you look at the difference between 2020 and 2024, again, a significant shift to red. And the one that really probably surprised me more than any was this one. This is Philadelphia. So the vice president, she still won Philadelphia, as you can see with graph on the left. But the graph on the right shows just how many people within Philadelphia shifted to a more conservative or more Republican point of view. Pretty telling, isn't it? That overall, the country was done with what we had, and it was time for something new. But it's also important to remember this map. This is the map that takes the 2024 election results and adjusts it by population per state. And you can still see that overall influence of the Northeast, the left coast, and that's something that will play a significant part in who is able to win in the midterm elections. And that is the next big marker for the president and for the Republicans as a whole to determine how they deliver something that gives the electorate enough faith to give Congress 2 more years of Republican control. And all of that is yet to be determined. So let's get back into the team we have. We have to start with the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. She's homegrown, right here in Texas. And she is our #1 cheerleader. It has been amazing to watch how many trips she has already taken in her term as secretary. She's covering the ground. She's talking to producers across the country. Today, she's in College Station talking about a whole host of issues. One of those is our top issue. That top issue is New World screwworms. And I hope all of you are aware that New World screwworms are knocking at our door. What happened? We eradicated these things in the 60s, pushed them back into South America. the United States government was a partner with the Panamanian government in a facility in Panama to produce sterile males in order to control New World screwworm and prevent them from coming back north. If you know much about the New World screwworm, you understand that the female only mates once. So the way we eradicated it the last time, and the only way we will eradicate it this time, is with a sterile male program. Introduce sterile males out in the wild, get them to mate with the females, fool that female, and stop the female from laying the eggs. Which will do exactly what they said. The larva then screws into the flesh of the cattle, the hogs, the dogs, the people. And if not treated, could kill in 5 to 7 days. Huge problem for us if it comes back. And again, it's not just cattle. It's all livestock. It is people. It is dogs. It's cats. We have to stop this. But here's what we found out. The sterile males that were being bred in Panama didn't have much of a libido. So think about that. If your only job is to mate, but you're not really interested in mating, you don't serve a very good role as a deterrent. But that's what we found out. And so about a year ago, they came up through the Isthmus of Panama into Central America. Thanksgiving, we learned that they were in Mexico. Over 1,000 cases and growing. 2 things that we're working on right now. One is to just hold the line. Keep them from coming any further north than they already have. That line is the Isthmus of Mexico, that narrow part of Mexico that comes right off of the Yucatan Peninsula. That line is where they are at. And with the production of 100 million sterile male flies a week, 100 million a week, we can hold the line. Problem is, we have to get those 100 million into Mexico. And that's been the challenge. The facility in Panama is cranking out 100 million. But the Mexican government has not been very cooperative. The Mexican government has thrown a lot of hurdles in our way. Not only that, but the cartels have made it harder for us. The cartels are extorting money from the flying company that wants to land with the sterile males. And as such, we've had a lot of planes that just haven't been able to land. And if you can't land, what happens? The flies then die on the plane. A fly that could be helping us keep this little critter in check, in a lot of cases, is not even getting on the ground. So Secretary Rollins came out this weekend, sent a letter to the Mexican government laying out her expectations that they become better partners, that they cooperate with us, they coordinate with us in order to make sure that these planes can land, we can get these flies out in the wild, and we can hold that line. Because if they break through the line, that's the point where Mexico widens out, and it's a highway straight for Texas. And I guarantee you, a Texas-born Secretary of Agriculture does not want to be talking about screwworms knocking on the border on the 4th of July. But if we don't hold the line, that's exactly what will be happening. So that's why she stepped up this weekend and sent a very pointed letter with her expectations of their cooperation so we can stop it. Because it's not just about us, it's about the Mexican producers too. They are also scared and don't like the fact that their government has not been working very closely with them. So we, along with the Texas Cattle Feeders Association, the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, are spending a lot of time talking about this as our top issue. In fact, down in College Station at that meeting with the Secretary, I know that the TSCRA officers are there meeting with her. So hold the line first. Then we have to push them back. Ideally, we want all of them back into South America. In order to do that, it's going to require 200 million sterile males a week. 200 million a week. We need a new facility. So we're also working with the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, members of Congress, the Secretary, in order to find a facility that currently exists that can be retrofitted in order to produce these sterile males. Hold the line, build a facility, push them back into South America. That is the goal, and that's our focus right now. Again, if they break out of that line, then we'll be having a much different conversation a year from now at this beef conference. But the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service at USDA is telling us that they're pretty confident that they can hold the line as long as the Mexican government cooperates. And that's the push right now. So that is our top ask of the Secretary. We know it's top of mind for her, which is why she sent the letter and is spending time down in College Station today. No need to panic quite yet. We are getting a lot of cooperation from our government. We just need to make sure that the Mexicans are willing to step up and play. Something else that we're leaning on the Secretary on is labor. We have to make sure that we have the labor in this country to work in feedlots, to work on your operations, and to work in packing plants. We don't want to go back to where we were almost 5 years ago, where packing plants were shutting down or slowing down because of the labor issues caused by COVID. Now we just need to make sure that we have labor. The president's made it very clear that he wants to address illegal immigration. That's why he is deporting people. That's why he is really tightening down, ratcheting down, and making sure that that issue is taken care of. But we need to make sure that we don't have collateral damage. What do I mean by that? There is a program right now called the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan program. These are all countries where people have left seeking asylum, political asylum here in the United States. It is a legal workforce program, and a lot of those have been going into packing plants to work, in some cases making up double digits, percentage-wise, of packing plant employees. They were all supposed to go home last Thursday. Fortunately, we were able to stop that and to talk with the president of the Department of Homeland Security and say, hey, let's just let this program expire as it was originally put in place and then send them home. Because by doing that, that buys us several more months to be able to find new workers to come in and ensure that we don't slow down these packing plants. Because if we slow down the packing plants, who is hit the worst? We are. All of us sitting here in this room today, we are the ones that will carry that burden and that impact. So far, we have seen a willingness from the administration to work with us to ensure that that collateral damage does not happen. And again, I have to give credit to Secretary Rollins for her leadership and understanding what that immigrant workforce means for us in the beef industry. She's not the only one we're working with, though. We have a whole host of new friends. Kristi Noem here, Secretary of Homeland Security. Did you know she's a cattle rancher in South Dakota? She's one of us. Former member of Congress, former governor of South Dakota. She understands our industry and what she needs to do to help. And she plays a critical role. There's an executive order that makes it very clear. National security is food security. Food security is national security. That has opened up the opportunity to work with the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, the FBI, the National Security Council. Many agencies in the past probably didn't spend as much time talking about agriculture as they should have. Now they are. And Secretary Noem is helping with that. One of our biggest concerns is foot and mouth disease. And it's not necessarily an accidental reintroduction. It's a potential reintroduction from a terrorist organization. She understands that. We just talked with the special agent who's the deputy director of the Weapons of Mass Destruction program at the FBI. She's located out of the Denver office. She said that in Afghanistan, they found papers with a list of various pathogens. And the pathogens were evaluated on its impact to the economy, to the food supply, to human health. Number one on that list was foot and mouth disease, FMD. So we know that the terrorist organizations understand how crippling foot and mouth disease would be. And so that's why Customs and Border Protection, the work that is done at our ports, the Beagle Brigade, for example. If you haven't heard about the Beagle Brigade, it's just what it is. It's a brigade of beagle dogs that are in airports, that are in ports, that help keep us safe from illegal meat imports that come in somebody's roll-on that they took on the plane. So that role is one that she understands. She is playing very well and is critical to our safety and ultimate success. Let's go to Doug Burgum. He is the Secretary of the Interior. He's a former governor of North Dakota. The thing we like about Secretary Burgum is that he too understands agriculture, having come from North Dakota, and he's a businessman. We need somebody with some business acumen at the Department of the Interior. Now, fortunately, here in Texas and a lot of the surrounding states, you do not have the burden of federal lands as you see with those of you who may be here from New Mexico, for example, Colorado in the west, and everything that those producers have to deal with to be a grazing permittee working under the purview of the Department of the Interior and its various agencies. One area where I believe Governor Burgum will help us is in the Endangered Species Act and potential reform to the ESA. Even here in Texas, we have several species. The dune sagebrush lizard, for example, the lesser prairie chicken, those that are threatened or on the verge of being threatened or the verge of being listed. If we can have Governor Burgum, Secretary Burgum, step up and help us address the Endangered Species Act, revise it, make it work for us, then that will be a benefit. There's a senator from Wyoming, Dr. Barrasso is his name, medical doctor. He works a lot on these interior issues, and he said that if he never had a single patient actually live, he wouldn't have been a very good doctor. But that's how the Endangered Species Act basically has worked. Once you get on the list, you never get off. But we know that there is recovery out there. We have seen the increase in various populations. And time again, we can equate all of that to you as cattle producers, those of us in agriculture, what we do to preserve habitat. Secretary Burgum understands that, and he's already made a commitment to start working with us to find some revisions to make that a little less onerous on us and to find ways to get species off of the endangered species list once they've recovered. Here's one that's going to evoke a lot of interesting responses. RFK Jr., our new Secretary of Health and Human Services. Instead of putting up the photograph, I put up this tweet because I thought you all would appreciate this tweet from a couple of weeks ago, March 15th. Snacking on beef jerky made with just beef and salt is a game changer. It's packed with protein, keep you full and satisfied for hours. Plus, it's loaded with essential nutrients like vitamin B, iron, and zinc. Pure, simple fuel for your body. Eat more beef. He also fried his Thanksgiving turkey in beef tallow. And because of that, you can't find beef tallow anymore because he keeps talking about beef tallow. The reason why he's important to us is because he has a role in finalizing the dietary guidelines for Americans. Andy, I'm sure as you were preparing for lunch and dinner, you spent all the time making sure that the meal was lined with the dietary guidelines. I know that happened. I know all of you are doing that every day. Man, I hope my dietary guidelines are working. No, you don't. Nobody does. So why do we care? Why do we care? We care because the dietary guidelines determine what is served in federal nutrition and food programs. So think SNAP, food stamps. Think school lunch. Think prisons. Think military installations. And in the Biden administration, they pushed red meat off of the center of the plate and they replaced it with beans, peas, and lentils. I know every United States Marine is going to be ready to go into battle with a belly full of beans, peas, and lentils. We have to fix that. The president is already engaged. Secretary Rollins is already engaged. Secretary Kennedy is also one that will help us get red meat back into center of plate and to make sure that it keeps its place in all these federal programs. Even with all this good news, it's important to look at his entire body of work. And for 20 years, he was the head of the Waterkeeper Alliance. The water keepers and river keepers. This is a group that spends time in boats, canoes, going up and down waterways, looking for environmental violations. And for years, they've targeted agriculture. So while he's saying a lot of good things here, he has a bit of a sordid past. And that's why we have to stay vigilant to make sure that that doesn't come back and start to sway where he goes with some of his thoughts. It's just always good to know who you're dealing with. Somebody else we're dealing with is going to be the administrator of the EPA, Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin doesn't like the EPA any more than we do. And he's the administrator. So that's great news. It's great news because we're finally putting aside the waters of the United States issue, something that has plagued us for years. The Supreme Court finally opened the door to stop that. Lee Zeldin is going to put the final nail in the coffin. He's also working on some other issues regarding emissions, something that is important here when we talk about firefighting equipment in particular, something James Henderson and I have talked a lot about and that NCBA has policy on because of James's work and the cattle raisers' work. He is in the process of looking how we exempt firefighting equipment from some of the emission standards in order to make sure that in the height of a wildfire, you don't have to regen those engines. That would go a long way in making sure that we can help all of you. And as we prepare for, according to Matt, what may be a really ugly western wildfire season, that we can have the equipment ready to go to tackle these fires and try to prevent as much devastation as they typically cause. He's from New York, former member of Congress. We worked with him very closely when he was in the House of Representatives. Again, he understands business. He understands regulations and what they can do to us as business people. So we're excited about the work he has already done, and he is just getting started. You'll think about it. 100 days today. They haven't wasted much time as an administration. It's not just the president, it's everybody. And this is Jamison Greer. He is the United States Trade Representative. Ambassador Greer is the guy who was working on trade. Trade's important to us. Provides a lot of opportunities for us to send products that we don't eat here in the United States overseas. We just got done with Easter. And I know all of you sat down with a nice, succulent, juicy beef tongue. Right? Yeah, no, nobody ate beef tongue for Easter. But overseas, it's a delicacy and something that we can get paid a premium for. And it's not just that. When you look at the increasing middle class, the amount of disposable income that these countries have that they didn't once have, they also want ribeyes and strips and fillets. We want to provide it to them because it is money in our pocket as producers. As you see from here, now this is from January 2025. This is probably the high water mark of the year. And you can see that overall trade access was adding about $371 to the bottom line of all of you. And you see the breakout of where that was going. Korea being number one, China number two. But right now, we're out of China. We're not sending product to China. And it's going to be a while before we do. Does it have an impact on us? We'll see. There's a significant lag in the numbers, so it takes a while for us to be able to get those numbers and analyze it. But we expect that to be a financial hit. But long term, will the president's approach of using the big stick get us even more access? And I think that's what we have to stop and think about. We have to take a breath. We have to be patient and have faith that he's going to be able to deliver some wins. Because when you look at his first 4 years, the 45 term, we came out in a much better spot on trade at the end of year 4 than when we started. And there's a lot of things that we can gain here because we have countries that aren't playing very nice with us. Australia is a great example. We've had a free trade agreement with the Australians for over 20 years, but ever since BSE, they've been closed to us. In the meantime, they have sent almost 30 billion, that's a billion with a B, $1 billion worth of their product in the United States. And we've sold not 1 cent of fresh beef into Australia. We need to make sure that trade is not only free, but fair. And that's the approach that the president's taking here with tariffs. Tariffs are not a long-term tool that we support. They do not have that opportunity to be successful. Tariffs, however, can be that short-term tool in getting people's attention, and they are getting people's attention. The European Union is another great example of where we need some changes. The United Kingdom as well. And the president's approach, we believe, will go a long way in helping us. Now let's turn to Congress. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, one of our best friends. I've got his cell phone. Our VP in Washington, D.C. has his cell phone. We're hosting a fundraiser for him at the end of the week because this guy showed up as a candidate, knocked on our door, came in and said, hey guys, I'm from northwestern Louisiana and just want to talk to you about my run for Congress. We sat down and talked to him, had a great conversation. A God-fearing man who understands agriculture, he understands the cattle business. And we said, you know what? This is our kind of guy. We maxed out to him with our political action committee. That's $10,000. $10,000 he could use to go and run for Congress. Little did we know that 7 years later, he would become the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And every time he comes into our office, he comments, I remember when you guys took a bet on me as a candidate. That's what you have to do. You have to build your friends here because it's your friends that are ultimately going to deliver what we need, and we need him to deliver the president's big, beautiful bill. For us, it's the tax components. Because if we don't, on December 30th, we're going to lose what we have on the death tax, the estate tax. Almost $14 million in exemption per person. Almost $28 million as a couple. That goes a long way in protecting most assets for the majority of operations. We have to protect that. We have to grow that with inflation over time. We would love to eliminate the death tax. We're not going to be able to do it. So we have to make sure that we continue to grow that exemption so we can protect as many of your assets as we possibly can, and we need that done. Keep in mind that that package was signed in 2017 by our current president. We know that it's the top of the speaker's list, and he is going to do everything he can. I'm very optimistic that we will have that done and have you some certainty well before those programs start to expire at the end of the year. On the Senate side, John Thune from South Dakota. Again, somebody else that has a connection to agriculture, that understands agriculture. Think about how many times I've talked about these individuals and their connection to agriculture, their understanding of what we do. We haven't seen that in an administration or Congress in a long time from people that are in such high, important, and influential positions. He too is very committed to getting the tax provisions done. In fact, he is the sponsor of our death tax repeal bill. For years, he's been pushing for death tax repeal. He's our sponsor. So having him as the majority leader in the Senate is a great asset and friend. Let's jump into the Ag Committee. So on your left here, at the top, you have G.T. Thompson. He's the chairman of the House Ag Committee. Underneath is Angie Craig. She's the ranking Democrat. GT's from Pennsylvania. Angie's from Minnesota. Then on the right, you have Senator John Bozeman. He's from Arkansas. He's the chair of the Senate Ag Committee. And then Amy Klobuchar, who's the ranking Democrat, also from Minnesota. Their focus is the Farm Bill. We need a Farm Bill. The Farm Bill expired. We need a new one. We're working under an extension. That extension expires at the end of September. So they're trying to figure out how quickly they can get a bill done. Why do we want a bill? Number one for us is the foot and mouth disease, the FMD vaccine bank. How many of you know that there are active cases of FMD in Hungary and Slovakia right now? There are. And in Hungary, cases have doubled in the last week. What's interesting about it is they believe it is a serotype that has been genetically modified. And the last connection to that particular genetically modified serotype was Pakistan in 2018. Remember what I talked about earlier about an intentional reintroduction of foot and mouth disease? We very well could have those groups using Hungary as a test ground to come after us. That's why we need the vaccine bank. We need to keep it out. We have to be continually vigilant in what's going on when it comes to foot and mouth disease. So our hope is that we will have that opportunity to get the Farm Bill done. It probably won't happen by the time the current one expires, the current extension expires in September, but there's a high likelihood we could have it done by the end of the year. No, that is the push because the House, the Senate, and the President are all looking at the midterm election, and they want to make sure that they can deliver. if you have tax relief, if you have a farm bill, those are going to be some significant things that they can hang their hat on that they believe will help them maintain control of the House and Senate for the next 2 years of the Trump administration. Let's turn our focus to meat alternatives. This is beyond meat's stock price. This was actually as it was the end of March, trading day on March 31st. It closed yesterday at $2.46, so it's still going down. I thought that would have elicited a little applause here. That's a big win. We're talking about something that 5 years ago we thought was an existential threat to us. We treated it that way. We spent a lot of time fighting back against the nonsense that these companies were putting out there that was denigrating us and what we do as cattle producers. And it worked. It worked. The consumer doesn't want that garbage. It's called impossible because it's impossible to eat. It's because they forgot the fundamentals of what you have to do in the food business, is put something out there that people actually want to consume. They didn't want to consume it. And so their attack on us from an environmental standpoint just fell flat with the consumer. The consumer just didn't care, and that's why you're seeing this. Now, what's next? What's next is the lab-grown product, where they're taking cells from live bovines and trying to use their bioreactors to replicate beef. They're not there yet, but we need to make sure that we're ahead of them. We're already ahead of them because President Trump has authorized that USDA have the exact same regulatory authority over those companies as they do over a regular beef plant. That's a big win because these companies did not want that. These companies wanted to have FDA inspections because if you are inspected by the FDA, you are on a risk-based inspection protocol. So that means depending on your track record, you might get inspected daily, you might get inspected weekly, you might get inspected monthly, you might get inspected yearly, where we are inspected every single hour that we're operating. We got that done. They won't be able to do anything without USDA employees in those plants. That's a big win. The next win that we have to get done before the president is out of office is to make sure that whatever that stuff's labeled, it's very clear to the consumer what it is. And we do believe that we'll be able to have the support of the president to make that happen. Why do companies like that crater? Why is there not a lot of support for the lab-based product? Well, it's because of us. People like the taste of beef. And the quality that you are producing and that consistent eating experience is what keeps them coming. Look at these two charts. At the top, this is the retail meat case. We command 55% of the value. In the past, people have said, well, that's great and all, but chicken's probably still selling more than you are. No, they're not. By volume, they're 1% ahead of us. That's a great testament to us and what we've been able to do to provide that satisfaction, to provide that great quality eating experience and to keep them coming back. And it's number one, taste. Beef and taste. We're above everybody else. I love this one. We asked the consumer, what do you perceive to be the most nutritious? Look at where we're at. We are neck and neck with chicken. We haven't always been there, but we are now. Huge win for us. But this is the one that I love. When you ask the consumers, who do you trust to produce your food? It's you. It's you above chicken producers. It's you above hog producers. It's you above everybody else. That's something to be proud of. And that's why demand remains the way that it is. Final slide. We've got a lot of opportunities, got a lot of challenges. We also still have a lot of enemies. And I say enemy on purpose because groups like these, this is a web of all the different activist groups that are coming after us. They're working together, they share staff, they share information, they share funds, and they don't like us sitting here today. In particular, the ASPCA, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, for just $19 a month. Right? You've all seen the commercials. Poor dogs and cats, tugging at the heartstrings. Less than 2% of that money goes to dogs and cats. Where does it go? It goes to Washington, D.C. to fight us. So they support things like Waters of the United States because it hurts us. They want to keep beans, peas, and lentils in the center of the plate on dietary guidelines because it hurts us. And they are engaged in the Farm Bill because they believe it's an opportunity to, again, hurt us as cattle producers. So whenever you see those commercials, realize it's all a big scam. Tell your friends, tell your pew mates at church, tell everybody you can. Do not give to any of these groups because these groups are not working for the welfare of dogs and cats or animals. They are working against you as cattle producers and America's agriculturalists. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to be around all day today and all day tomorrow, so come find me if you have questions. But I really appreciate the opportunity to give you a quick update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. Andy? Okay, we do have time for a couple of questions. Okay.
So one of our local Hemphill County ranchers, Kyle John, just texted me this. What is NCBA's position on the use of RMNA vaccines in cattle?
What is the NCBA position on mRNA vaccines in cattle? There is no, or there are none. How should I say that? There are none. There are no. I'll work on my grammar. There are no mRNA vaccines approved for cattle. So I want to make sure everybody knows because that has been something that has kind of gone off the rails a little bit. So that does not exist. We do not have, as NCBA, specific policy on mRNA. Our policy is that we want to take a look at the science behind any vaccine or animal health technologies that could help us. So you might say, well, that's a milquetoast answer. Well, it might be. But what it does is it allows us to continue to look at the science, to look at the facts before we take a firm and hard position on that. But again, that takes us back to the NCBA policy-making process. So in my role as the CEO, in our role as any staff, we don't make the policy of the association. The association policy is made by the members themselves who show up, who bring issues forward. We debate them, we talk about them, we vote on them at the committee level, we vote on them at the board of directors level, and ultimately, any of you who are an NCBA member, you have received a ballot every September to be able to make sure your voice is heard. And as of yet, we have not taken a position in either opposition or support of mRNA, but want to make sure that we have the opportunity to look at more data and science before we do. But as of right now, there are no mRNA vaccines for use in the cattle industry. Oh, status on country of origin labeling. Well, we couldn't get through a conversation without cool. That's for sure, right? Country of origin labeling, been around, well, since Moses, I believe, and one that we have talked about ad nauseum. So where do we stand? Many of you will recall that the Food Safety Inspection Service manual allowed for any product that came in from a foreign country that was further processed in a USDA inspected plant to carry the label product of the United States. NCBA submitted a petition asking that that be changed. We were successful in getting that done. So as things stand today, you cannot put a product of the USA label on anything that wasn't born, raised, or harvested in the United States. But it is still a voluntary program. So retailers can determine whether or not they want to use that. If they do use it, though, it does have to be certified, born, raised, and harvested in the United States in order to receive that particular label. All right, Andy, thank you. Donald?
Very good. Thank
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Appreciate it very much. Here, I'll take that for
Okay,
you.
yeah, watch it take that.
Perfect. Colin, great job. Thank you very much. And just what a great representation for the people that are standing up for our needs while we're back at the ranch and enjoying happy days. I'm thankful for folks like Colin. Let's give him another round of applause.
All right, moving along, I want to introduce our next speaker. He's going to take a few minutes to share some words with us. It's Mr. Bram Browder. Bram's a managing partner for Farm and Ranch Loss Assessment